While Hitler had 10,000 Jewish people gassed, burned, mass executed every single day for 6 years and had them in concentration and death camps. And while he was actively taking over the world, he kept telling the world that it's the Jews who are taking over the world. As Islamic Caliphate has been taking over half of Asia, now called the Middle East, and all of northern Africa, spreading from one country, its origin in the Arabian Peninsula, to 57 Muslim countries, as opposed to the Jewish country, which is just one, where the Jewish people live and are autonomous to. And it's been the only country they ever had for a few millennia. Islam and Muslim people, therefore, refer to Jewish people as colonizer. Tell me what you blame the Jew for, and I'll tell you what you are. The scapegoat Jew is a tale as old as time. People who don't see themselves as they are, projected onto the Jew. The Jewish people serve as the spiritual mirror of humanity. Sometimes you like what you see in the mirror, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get angry with it, sometimes you break it. It doesn't change the reflection and what it is. The person or the people who are making the accusation are accusing themselves. The man you know as Jesus, his name was Yeshua. He lived 2,000 years ago in the kingdom of Israel. He was a Jew, a Jewish rabbi, an Israelite, a Hebrew. And according to Christian faith, he died for the sins of humanity. Ironically, and this has been going on with the Jewish people to the Jewish people for the time of Yeshua and way after him, because it's not a reflection of Yeshua. Yeshua is a reflection of the Jewish people, as he was a Jew himself. Jewish people suffer, often die, in the name of humanity's sins. Societies, countries, individuals have been persecuting and killing Jewish people for the reasons that they allegedly accused them of are actually their own. It's always the case. So when a Jew faces an anti-Semite and they are making an accusation, I'm doing this to you because I have to, because you do this and that. You made me do it, like a good abuser. Look what you made me do. If the Jew starts explaining the way in which the accusation is not true, then they are on the defense. Instead of acting like the mirror that they are to the anti-Semite, they're trying to show the anti-Semite that they exist in them and of themselves, which they do, of course. However, that's not what the psyche of the anti-Semite sees. What it sees is a projection of the anti-Semite. And its spirit and its soul, their soul is trying to tell them, look at what you are yourself. So when we go into defense and start explaining, for example, we only have one tiny country. We've had the same indigenous country for millennia, and everywhere else that we've been was due to exile. When we try to explain that, the only thing that the anti-Semite will hear is why they are okay. Because again, you serve as a mirror to them, or the Jew serves as a mirror to them. So it's not going to work. Basically, they're not going to be like, oh, that's right, you're not a colonizer in this example. No, what they're going to translate is, from the mind of the anti-Semite, I am not a colonizer. Whatever the mirror reflects to them, that's what they see about themselves. or whatever they can't see within themselves, that's what they'll see in you. So what you want to do, by you I mean the Jew, is immediately show them, remind them, vocalize right away and very clearly that they themselves are the thing that is reflecting to them. For example, if they're facing an Islamist accusing them of colonialism and imperialism, immediately go into stating the facts. Aren't you a part of the Muslim faith? The Islamic Empire started in the Arabian Peninsula with one man and has grew to an empire of 57 countries. All of them have flags with the same colors that represent the four caliphates, which is the four houses of Islam. The red, the white, the black, and the green. All of these flags are the same version of the same four colors that represents the imperialist caliphate. You have 57 countries, half of Asia. West Asia is now for some reason called the Middle East, and all of Northern Africa, which was Islamized and Arabized with colonialism and violence. So you are the colonizer, you are the imperialist. And you do the same to anybody. If someone tells a Jew that the Jew is greedy, immediately show them the way they themselves are greedy. And stop apologizing. They're apologizing and explaining why you're not the things that you are accused of doesn't work. It works for normal for people who are not serving as a reflector. Of course, there are people who are not Jewish who can serve as spiritual catalysts and a mirror effect, but as a umbrella of a collective of people, it's a thing with the Jewish people. So whereas other individuals and other people can just be like, no, look, these are the facts. And you can also state the facts about yourself, about the Jew, but after. First, you put a mirror, you clarify that it's a mirror. You already are a mirror, but you verbalize the fact that they're seeing themselves by explaining first and foremost what it is that the person or the group that is accusing the Jew of something, the way in which they themselves do it. If an American accuses a Jew for colonialism, you can point the fact that they themselves are on stolen land and are not actively calling for themselves and their families and friends and people to leave and give it back to the Native Americans. Immediately ask them, if you want land to be returned to its indigenous people, why do you not do it yourself? And why are you not celebrating the fact that Israel is a decolonial effort and success story? Because after colonialism, it was returned to its indigenous people. It's a rare story in history. So anyone who claims to be against colonialism would celebrate Israel. Always first start with offense. That's what the Jewish people have to do. Immediately verbalize and showcase the way the accuser is doing the same thing that they are accusing the Jew of. Then you can move on to listing the ways the Jewish people do not. But at that point, it would no longer matter. It will just be extra information. But when it comes to being effective, Jewish people on the defense does not work. We've been trying this for 5,000 years. It leads to enslavement, ghettos, exiles, massacres, because it also doesn't serve the spiritual purpose of waking people up from their darkness and lack of self-awareness. As soon as you raise awareness, as you vocalize what it is that the person themselves is a part of, either themselves individually or a part of a collective of some sort. You wake them up. They manage to see themselves within. They stop projecting and running away from themselves and from accountability. By doing the offense when it comes to responding to anti-Semitism, not only are you helping yourself as a Jewish person or as a Jewish collective, you're also helping to heal the anti-Semite. That is the spiritual purpose. Tikkun olam. The term chosen people is not chosen to wear a crown and sit on a throne and eat bonbons. I don't know. I don't know what kings do, but you know, it's the dirty work, the hard work. And it comes with a lot of sacrifice, a lot of suffering. The archetype of Yoshua, as you refer to him, Jesus, which by the way, he didn't know what Jesus was. The Romans started referring to him as Jesus way after because they couldn't pronounce Yoshua. They couldn't pronounce the language Hebrew. So it was from Yoshua, it became Jesus, but it's Yoshua. So that archetype in Christianity is just making a way brighter, bigger light on the spiritual wound and purpose of the Jewish people. It's the core, it's the spiritual core to anti-Semitism. Now, anti-Semitism in and of itself is a very complex, multi-layered thing that plays out in so many ways. It's a looking up and it's a looking down and it's a shape-shifting conspiracy theory. And the reason it's so versatile is because the injuries of human beings are so versatile. People are unaware of different aspects of themselves. One person is unaware of their own greed. Another person is unaware of their own desire to take over, and so on and so forth. That's why the list of ways of expressing anti-Semitism is as long as the list of humanity's sins and defilements. It takes a great deal of study in order to become very knowledgeable in recognizing anti-Semitism. It's also a form of racism, but not only a form of racism. So the Jewish people can't be on the defense. They have to be on the offense. Immediately throw the grenade back to the sender. If someone throws a grenade at the Jewish people, an accusation, a blood libel, an active attack, whatever the case may be, however it plays out, you're not going to stand there facing the grenade and be like, I don't deserve this grenade because I am this and I am that and I'm not this and I'm not that. No, you throw it first and foremost, you throw it immediately back to the sender. Then you do the rest. When we start doing that consistently and actively, and people start awakening to their own faults and see themselves, it will ease the pressure on the Jewish people and it will raise the frequency of humanity's consciousness and promote awareness and enlightenment. We have been playing the defense far too long because it's the moral thing to do societally and spiritually. And only then go to offense. Something about us think if they'll only see that we're never first to attack, we're never first to We're always on the defense. We're not even always second to attack, historically. And there's this collective subconscious delusion that if the world will just see that we're not looking to fight, we're not looking to attack, they're not going to see that. They're not if they had the consciousness to recognize that, they would not be anti-Semitic in the first place. Their psyche is very disconnected from their awareness, from their consciousness. They can't see into it. So the universe has to reflect it to them. And when I say reflect it to them, it's not that the Jewish people are that, and so it reminds them of that what they do. No, no, no. It's an illusion. It's smoke and mirrors. When I sit in front of the anti-Semite doesn't see me at all. They see their own fears, they see their own desires, and they project. And sometimes you just sit there and like, you think I'm gonna do what? You think I want to what? You think what? Um, well, if I had controlled Hollywood, you'd be fired and I'd be winning the Oscars. So you certainly would not be wearing this pin that calls for the lynching of innocent people for being Jewish to the Oscars and receive applause. But they don't think like that. That's not how you start. In order to be able to do that, you got to be very educated and knowledgeable, my dear Jewish friend. You got to really know the history of the world and of people. It's good to know of the Spanish Inquisition. They collaborated with the Nazis because when a Spanish person, someone from Spain, which is infested in anti-Semitism, says something nonsensical that they themselves or their own people or their own ancestors have done, you can immediately remind them of that, or at least the room that's listening. A British person talking about imperialism? That's funny. A South African leader talking about apartheid? And so on and so forth. It's amazing how it's always like a perfect match. The countries, the people, the individuals, the organizations, the groups, whatever it is that X blames the Jew for, X does or has done. So, by properly addressing anti-Semitism, you are also enacting tikkun olam, helping people become aware of themselves and heal. It's very difficult. You got to be very, very, very knowledgeable. You got to be able to take a breath. And most importantly, you got to be able to accept the Jewish people, meaning that they're going to say it about you no matter what you prove about yourself, okay? So let them scream from their, you know, jail cell that you control the jail system. You know, if they're hurting an innocent Jew, first and foremost, they need to go to prison. And from there, they can scream that you control the jail system. Well, the justice system is not going to hold people accountable because then they'll say that they'll say it anyway. Go back to the beginning of this video. As Hitler was killing 6 million human beings for being Jewish and blaming them for taking over the world as they were dying under his hands, and he was taking over the world. He kept saying that. It doesn't matter what you do. They'll keep saying it. Because again, the anti-Semite doesn't operate within the boundaries of objective reality. They operate from a very foggy space that is completely unaware of itself, but their soul is desperate for them to wake up. And spiritually, we signed up for this. It doesn't make it okay and it doesn't make it justified. Absolutely not. We signed up to being a spiritual mirror, but to also not stop there and let it happen to us. No, but immediately make sure that the person in front of you wakes up. Place it back to them. Throw back the ball. I'm Salchai.